Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
I'm here for Peter.
Wow, you're in luck, Will. Peter's back.
About damn time.
We get a whole lot of Peter in this episode, a whole bunch of meathead lawyer, all of it. Welcome back to the Ultimate Spider Cast. I am Phil. Joining me, as always, the true Kingpin of crime. It is
Queenpin, Lilith Hellfire. You got it.
True.
Flip it good.
The true Queenpin, Betty Grant. No,
Exactly.
oh man, we're gonna be. We'll talk about a lot this episode, including where Betty was kind of riding out the gang war.
Hey-o!
Hey-o! All right, so yes, I know just during Zeb Wells' run, we got a gang war, but we're going to take you back a little bit to the gang war of the 80s. From Amazing Spider-Man 284 through 288, when it was a time of much upheaval and transition of like creators and characters getting revealed and all kinds of fun stuff. All right, so Lilith Hellfire, you ready?
Let's do it. Let's jump in.
Hey-o. All right. So we start with Amazing Spider-Man 284. All right, from January 1987, and who will stand against them? Writers
Look at
Tom.
all that cannon fodder.
I know. Hey. Oh, that's right. Since we got the Zeb Wells farewell party last time, you're only gonna get 2 episodes of actual Hobgoblin this year, kids. This is the first one with look at that cover. You got Hobgoblin and Jack-o'-lantern.
Double the trouble, double the fun.
So you got the Hobgoblin and Mackendale before he became
Mackendale.
Writers Tom DeFalco and Jim Owsley, aka Christopher Priest.
The original Hootie.
Oh, that's right. Hey, come on. Hootie was a young, I don't know what you call a young owl. That's what he was at this point.
My Tweety Bird just went off just in time for that.
All right. Pencilers Ron Friends and Brett Breeding, inker Joseph Rubenstein, colorist Bob Sharon, letterer Rick Parker, and editors Jim Salicrup and Maddie Blostein, credited under a different name. All right, kids, strap in. From the rafters of a warehouse, someone is spying on a group of men offloading stolen electronics. Suddenly, the transport is interrupted by members of the Blue Boys, a gang of criminals who wear blue hoods over their heads. Ah, subtle.
The cops? What?
Oh!
Burn.
As a gun battle erupts, the man in the rafters starts taking photographs. Elsewhere, Spider-Man is web slinging across the city. See, it's not him. Thinking about his recent encounter with Captain Chris Keating and is convinced that the police officer has some kind of personal vendetta against him. No, actually, the real Chris Keating was killed, and it's the Foreigner. There's so much.
He didn't even know.
Between this and Spectacular, there's so much going on at the moment. The wall crawler is getting fed up with swinging all over the city because he wants to give up his crime fighting career, but cannot do so until he finds Flash Thompson and clears his name. Hearing gunshots, Spider-Man crashes in on the gang battle in the warehouse. He makes short work of both groups. When the battle is over, his spider sense is still ringing. Suddenly, the Hobgoblin comes crashing through the wall. Apparently, the Blue Boys were fighting with members of the Roses gang. The villain explains that there is a gang war going on. Spider-Man dodges the villain's finger blast. Shut up, Lilith. And the stray shots strike the gang members.
Bang, bang.
Finger banging into my heart. This reminds Spider-Man of the innocent people who were maimed when he battled the Sin Eater. floating heads of guilt. The Hobgoblin then takes the opportunity to flee the scene through a skylight. When Spider-Man follows after the Hobgoblin, someone begins to shoot at the hero from a building across the street. Spider-Man ducks for cover until the shots stop and the police were arriving on the scene. Since he accomplished nothing in this little skirmish, Spider-Man wonders just what he was trying to do. Frazzled and unable to sleep, Spider-Man decides to take the photos taken with his automatic camera so he can try to sell them to the Daily Bugle. Even though Peter Parker arrives at the Bugle after midnight, the place is packed with reporters. They're all being briefed by Ben Urich on the gang war that has just started. Urich explains that this all started with the Kingpin's vendetta against the costumed hero named Daredevil. See Born Again. After many failed attempts to kill the masked vigilante, the Kingpin became obsessed with Daredevil's destruction. This obsession led to the Kingpin hiring the mercenary known as Nuke, and in the ensuing battle, a great deal of Hell's Kitchen was destroyed. Urich sums up his briefing by explaining that the Kingpin disappeared after his failed battle of wills against Daredevil, leaving the Arranger, his second in command, in charge of his empire. However, without the Kingpin in the city, a struggle for control of New York's criminal empires has begun. The warring factions include the gangs run by the Arranger, the Rose, Silvermane, and Hammerhead. The wild card in the whole gang war is the Blue Boys, a group Urich doesn't know much about. With the presentation over, Peter tries to sell his photos to Kate Cushing. However, Kate refuses them, telling Peter that Lance Bannon had already submitted photos of the gun battle in the warehouse an hour earlier. So that was Lance in the rafters.
Of course.
Before going, Pete's spider sense suddenly goes off, alerting him to the presence of Ned Leeds.
I get so upset about this.
Why?
I think it's lazy. I don't think it was gonna be Ned.
No, the Falco was going to make it Kingsley. He was because again, Roger Stern who had the original idea. The Falco talked to him about it and says it's going to be Kingsley, and he was going to make it Kingsley. But then all of a sudden they ejected him and Ron Friends from the book, and then I don't know who made the decision. What we got,
yeah.
They're just like, yeah, it's going to be Ned Leeds. But in hindsight, the spider sense is going off because Ned's been hypnotized by the
Yeah, that whole the
Winkler device or whatever. Yeah. Leeds sees as a strange wife, Betty, and asks her what she is doing at the Bugle so late. Betty explains that she can't sleep because she was worried about him covering this gang war, and she can't manipulate everyone from home.
Sometimes you got to get out in them streets.
Oh my. Peter overhears this conversation and wonders why Ned Leeds has him on edge all of a sudden. Betty points out that she is concerned that she is still concerned. That is the best sentence ever. What are you worried about? I'm worried that I'm still worried. Come on. He once again brings up her affair with Flash Thompson and accuses her of actually being concerned about her boyfriend because he is the Hobgoblin. He grabs Betty by the wrist, hurting her. Before the situation can escalate further, Joe Robertson interrupts the situation. Joe scolds Ned for missing the briefing and orders Leeds into his office. Betty then seeks comfort from Peter. Like
Same, relatable girlfriend.
And suspects that there is something evil about Ned, but she doesn't know what it is. So again, to our theory of she's the mastermind, she's manipulating Ned, Flash, and now she's rubbing up against Peter. I mean, hell. Come on.
That's one busy beaver.
Okay, man, then Jill.
I'm gonna sue because they warped my little fragile brain.
Oh man. The next day at the skyscraper owned by the Kingpin, the Arranger meets with his minions. He informs them that the Kingpin has decided to take a vacation and will return in good time.
He's always taking a vacation when things get rough, ain't he?
Exactly.
Is that the trope for Kingpin? When the tough gets going, the going gets tough?
Pretty much, man. He hauls them titties out of town. Until then, he tells them they will be following his orders. At that moment, at the Silvermane estate in Westchester comes under attack from Jack-o'-lantern. The masked criminal blasts his way into Silvermane's room and is still recovering from his last battle with Spider-Man. When the cyborg mobster attempts to defend himself, Jack-o'-lantern tosses an explosive at the villain, seemingly slaying him until the Spider-Man's 80. Before leaving, Jack tells the others that he sends his regards from the Arranger. Meanwhile, Peter Parker is on his way to Forest Hills to visit his Aunt May. He has decided to stay out of the gang war, as it is none of his business. When he arrives at his aunt's boarding house, where May and the other tenants are fixing up the property in hopes of taking in new tenants to replace the Lund sisters who had recently moved out. Later at the Rose's penthouse, news that Jack-o'-lantern is working for the Arranger reaches the Rose, and he is furious. The Hobgoblin assures Rose and his men that Jack-o'-lantern will face his wrath if he attempts to make an attempt on them like he did Silvermane. The Rose tells the Hobgoblin to do his rounds until he is instructed otherwise. With the Hobgoblin gone, the Rose's minions ask why they continue to put up with this deranged criminal. The Rose assures them that he will eliminate the Hobgoblin once his usefulness has come to an end. The Rose enters his private room where he considers the situation. He finds the gang war will prove
in that private room
with all those socks that stand up by themselves. Will prove to get costly to their organization. Removing his mask, the Rose decides that more subtle means are in order to deal with this current development. Later, the Rose's minions, Johnson and Varley, are picking up their cut of an illegal gambling operation when suddenly the operation is ambushed by a squad of officers led by Captain Chris Keating. After the bust, one of the officers asks Keating how all the tips he gets have proven accurate. Keating angrily explains that if he divulged the identity of his stool pigeons, they wouldn't get such great tips and drives off. The officer notes that Keating is driving in the opposite direction of the police station. By dusk, Spider-Man is back in the city after a day of helping Aunt May paint. He decides to do one more search for Flash before meeting up with Mary Jane at his apartment. He suddenly spots fashion designer Roderick Kingsley, or his twin brother, way out of his usual neighborhood. He watches as Kingsley is getting into a car, making the wall crawler curious. Going in for a closer look, he sees that the car is driven by Captain Keating. He wonders what the two of them could be talking about, but dismisses the whole thing because he doesn't want to get involved. Yeah, what could they be doing in there? Going on his way again, Spider-Man happens upon another gunfight happening in the street. When he attempts to stop it, both sides turn their guns on the wall crawler. Ducking to safety, Spider-Man chastises himself for getting involved again and leaves the scene. Later, Hammerhead and a group of women go to a fancy restaurant. As they sit down and make their orders, they are unaware that there has been a bomb planted under their table. It explodes not long after their arrival, seemingly killing everyone in its wake. When news of the explosion gets back to the Arranger, he tells his assassin to find Hammerhead's body to make sure that he is dead. After a call comes in and the Arranger is informed that Kingpin's son, Richard Fisk, has just arrived. At that moment, Mary Jane Watson waits nervously for Peter to return home. She is relieved when she hears the skylight in the bathroom open. Peter tells her that he was unable to find any trace of Flash while he was out. When he suggests they go out, Mary Jane refuses, telling him that they are going to stay in and she is going to cook them a meal. Peter isn't.
Oh dear.
Girlfriend, it's not the stomach you need to be going for, okay? The professional model is going to cook him a meal. Peter isn't happy about the idea as he feels uncomfortable about his apartment since Mary Jane redecorated it after the fire. While Mary Jane is in the kitchen, Peter catches a newscast about the bomb that went off. He still doesn't want to get involved, but then he hears about all the innocent lives that were lost in the blast. Remembering his old mantra, hello, Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man decides that the gang war must end immediately. When Mary Jane checks in on Peter to see what he wants to eat, she discovers that he is gone. Elsewhere, Betty Leeds returns home to discover her front door is unlocked. Betty is confused over conflicting emotions over her husband and Flash. Suddenly, someone grabs her from behind. Turning around, Betty's happy to discover that is Flash Thompson. He tells Betty that with her help, he is going to clear his name as he is tired of hiding. See, I always thought he made his entrance through the back door. Thoughts?
That's a lot to take in. Hell.
I was going to say, hell, that's what Betty said. But again, modern comics could never.
No, this was like 3 issues worth of stuff.
At least, yeah. So, yes, lots going on with the gang war, kids. By the end of this, we'll know who the Rose is.
If you don't already know.
And again, not all the players have even shown up yet. because someone else is about to make the scene too.
Oh yeah.
One of Lil's favorite personal meatheads. But yeah, so yeah, we tie in Born Again. We got Hammerhead and Silvermane again. Foreigners pretending to be Chris Keating. Mary Jane trying to take care of Peter. Hello.
It's not the way he wants.
Oh, a meal? Really? I thought we were gonna eat out. All right, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's just keep rolling. There's a lot happening.
I know. Are you sure?
Keep up, kids, or get lost.
You sure this cover's not going to trigger you because this is like your fantasy for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that hits the spot.
You need a cigarette. That's right, kids. Because Amazing Spider-Man 285 with the Punisher with a giant bazooka on his shoulder. All right, Amazing Spider-Man 285, February 1987. The Arranger must die.
I agree.
Not yet, kids. Again, same writers. Penciler Alan Kupperberg this time. Inker Jim Fern. Same color, same letterer, same editor. So, all right. So we've changed up the penciler and inker. Having survived an assassination attempt on him by the Arranger, Hammerhead has come to the Rose to seek an alliance and destroy their mutual enemy. The Rose considers the idea as their operations have never been in conflict. However, Hammerhead has the idea that he would be the leader of this new organization and would make the Rose his second in command. The Rose tells Hammerhead that he will consider the offer. Before
The Rose
leaving,
is always second best, ain't he? Second best kid. Second.
Before he's an only child, but he's still second best kid. Before leaving, Hammerhead warns the Rose to make up his mind soon, as he will not be able to maintain his neutrality, as the gang war will soon affect him as well. After Hammerhead leaves, the Rose and his lieutenants agree that siding with Hammerhead could be beneficial, especially if he and the Arranger kill each other. However, the prospect of being second in command under Hammerhead is unappealing. That's when they get a phone call informing them that one of the Rose's gambling operations was hit by the Blue Boys. The Rose tells his men to contact the Hobgoblin to deal with the Blue Boys. Going into his private room again, the Rose laments about being dragged down to the level of the other crime bosses. Attempting to figure out how to navigate the situation, the Rose decides the best way is to do this is without his mask again.
That stupid ski mask. I agree.
A purple ski mask, yeah. Meanwhile, on the Lower East Side, the Blue Boys are smashing up another one of the Rose's operations. This is when Spider-Man comes smashing in to break things up. During the ensuing battle, two of the Blue Boys get the drop on the wall crawler. Spider-Man leaps onto the ceiling to evade them when suddenly someone from across the street guns down the two gangsters.
Who could it be?
Spider-Man leaps outside to identify the shooter. He spots the Punisher on the roof across.
He actually made his aim. Good on him.
Again, it's not. It's not.
I mean, it's a bazooka. If you miss, it's what's that saying? He couldn't hit the outside of a barn.
And again, it's like they aren't like
they're canon
important characters. So he always hits his mark when it's it's not like the Kingpin or somebody we know. Spider-Man tries to catch the vigilante, but the Punisher bolts. As the wall crawler gives chase, he recalls how he and the Punisher had recently clashed with the Kingpin and wonders if the vigilante had anything to do with the recent disappearance of the Kingpin. Nope. When Spider-Man tries to point out the hypocrisy of the Punisher's mission, the Punisher counters by saying Spider-Man only chooses to save certain people. He points out the fact that the wall crawler is letting the two members of the Blue Boys bleed out in order to chase the Punisher.
Burn.
Spider-Man realizes that the Punisher is right.
Burn.
And webs one of the vigilante's arms to a chimney stack. Spider-Man doubles back to the arcade and does what he can for the two injured crooks. When the police arrive, they order Spider-Man to back off or he will be arrested under orders of Chris Keating. Spider-Man is fine with this and is about to leave when his spider sense begins going off.
Wait a minute.
Spider-Man goes back up to the rooftops to discover that the Punisher has escaped. He actually ripped his own sleeve off. Across town, the Hobgoblin is racing across the city. He has just realized that the Punisher is back in town and wants to avoid conflict with the vigilante, as it would interfere with
somebody's scared of the Punisher. I can't respect that.
I know this isn't even Mackendale. I'd buy it if it was Mackendale. While in a nearby junkyard, speaking of, Jack-o'-lantern has come to educate the owners on what
Where he
happened.
belongs.
Oh, when they stop paying the Kingpin's organization. That's when Hammerhead and his minions come out of hiding and chase Jack away. While at the Kingpin skyscraper headquarters, his minions are in a meeting with the Arranger and are demanding to know when the Kingpin is going to return. They are upset that the addition of the Punisher in this gang war is cutting into profits.
What are they, Ferengi?
Profits, human. Just then, the Arranger gets a phone call informing him that Richard Fisk, the Kingpin's son, has arrived. Again, the Arranger ends the meeting with Fisk, who has come to visit his mother, who is still recovering. Left alone with Vanessa, he learns that his mother still doesn't recognize him. Richard tells her that he is involved in a most dangerous game, but assures his mother that everything will be okay once it is over. Meanwhile, Spider-Man lands on the roof of the Daily Bugle and changes back into Peter Parker. He is worried about the escalating gang war and the return of the Punisher. When he tries to sell the photos of the arcade shootout to Kate Cushing, she tells him that she will take a look, as he took too long to get the photos to her, and she has a stack of UPI photos to choose from. As Pete heads
I
out,
bet she does.
he discovers that Ann McIntosh is filling in for Betty Leeds. Apparently, she called in sick, although Ann doesn't buy the excuse.
I don't feel good. To quote Mean Girls, boo, you whore.
Oh my! And figures her recent marital problems are the reason why she isn't in. Is it something she ate? No, it's something she swallowed.
Oh.
Oh.
Zinged her good, Phil.
What?
Yeah, zinged her good.
I know. Remember, kids, watch that diet.
I don't do Twinkies or toaster strudels, so.
Upset stomach, heartburn, indigestion, diarrhea.
Too much protein, kids. She notes that Ned Leeds, Betty's husband, is currently getting reamed out in Joe Robertson's office.
Whoa. Easy there, bud.
Man, what have we stumbled into? Lil's hard drive? Inside Joe's office, Robertson tells Ned that he hasn't been producing any quality work. He also reveals that he knows Ned has been lying about assignments that he claims to be working. Ned admits it and says he has been feeling inadequate compared to the Bugle star reporter Ben Urich. He explains that he's been working on a
that's valid. Let's be fair. That's valid.
He explains he's working on a Pulitzer-worthy story about Soviet spy operations during the 1960s. However, he still doesn't have
parents. What now?
No, it's the Spider-Man with Wolverine. I know, which we did about 100 episodes ago. However, he doesn't have all the facts to prove the story he's following just yet. That's when Ben Urich comes in to tell Joe the news that Hammerhead has put out a contract on the Arranger. As Peter Parker listens in, Urich suspects that the Arranger is eliminated. Hammerhead might go after the Rose next. This causes Leeds to become grim as he considers the situation. Could Ned Leeds be the Rose?
Not a chance.
I know. Later, Spider-Man is back swinging across the city, wondering when and where Hammerhead will try and take out the Arranger. He briefly considers leaving Hammerhead to complete this task, given how many people the Arranger murdered on behalf of his boss, the Kingpin. He can't bring himself to step aside, figuring that such a clash could cost innocent lives. Later still, Hammerhead learns that the Arranger is calling a meeting of all his top generals that evening. Hammerhead hopes the information is accurate. As Urich theorized, Hammerhead plans on taking out the Rose after dealing with the Arranger. While at a seedy hotel, the Punisher has also heard about the Arranger's meeting and is preparing to interrupt it himself. He hopes that Spider-Man doesn't interfere, but has a special surprise arranged for the wall crawler should he do so.
I bet he does.
Well, I think it's something on the cover there. Rhymes with
the big bazooka.
Spider-Man has spent a fruitless evening searching for signs of Flash Thompson or the Hobgoblin. He suddenly spots the guards taken out by the Punisher and decides to investigate. Inside, the Rose and his men wait for their meeting with the Arranger. Outside, the Punisher attempts to fire a bazooka into the building, but his aim is ruined by Spider-Man. When the rocket blows up harmlessly in the sky, it alerts all the mobsters inside the building. This gives Hammerhead's representative an opportunity to try and take a shot at the Arranger.
Spider-Man, you fool!
However, both Jack-o'-lantern and Hobgoblin come out of hiding and kill him.
You know what they need to have them do is the little Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other.
Exactly. Oh, man. What an ignoble death when you die by
a couple of balls down the gob.
Truly, indeed, it is.
He got gobbled. All right. So there you go. Gobble gobble.
Gobble gobble.
The Ranger is thankful for the assist, and he and the Rose agree to work together. The Rose then orders the Hobgoblin to shake hands with Jack-o'-lantern. The guy's going to kill you.
Boo!
Much to the chagrin of the Hobgoblin. When the Hobgoblin demands to know what is going on, the Rose tells him they will discuss it later. Meanwhile, outside, the Punisher is furious with Spider-Man interfering in his plan and opens fire on the wall crawler. Spider-Man throws off the Punisher by smashing a chimney, showering the roof with bricks. This allows Spider-Man to get closer, but the Punisher is ready for this. Slamming his fist against his chest, the Punisher activates a device that sprays Spider-Man with knockout gas. So Frank Dutch loving him. As Spider-Man blacks out, the Punisher tells Spider-Man that he can't let the hero capture him, as he must take his personal war to the mobsters, and leaves. Thoughts?
Man, that was a mouthful. They're literally like just sprinting through the story, man.
I know. I don't know if we're like hurrying up to get to like the marriage or something, but yeah, I mean we're booking through it.
I feel like they saw us end in sight. Oh.
Exactly. Hello, Russell. This story had so much potential,
but it poops the bed. Well, you know, we're messing around. We're letting suits tell creatives what to do.
So, so basically, what are you saying? Grade this story. Okay, I give it an Amber Heard.
Oh, you give it a grumpy?
Oh,
cool.
All right. So next issue.
Of course.
Like I said again, it seems like they're just like racing to like get everything over with. It's like, okay, we're gonna reveal the Rose, and then like the issue after this story, we're gonna reveal the Hobgoblin. We're gonna kind of like wrapping up 20 storylines in 5 issues.
It's like they realize it's like the night before their big essay is due, and they're up to
They're cramming.
They're writing the essay. They're getting that last minute project done.
Nice. All right. So Amazing Spider-Man 286. I don't know about this cover.
Yeah, that's not enticing.
This might be my least favorite cover out of these.
Like, look at Spider-Man
hanging on to the Hobgoblin.
Going for a ride.
Oh my. All right, Amazing Spider-Man 286 from March 1987. Thy Father's Son. Now we're down to
your daddy's son.
Oh my. Now we're down to only Jim Owsley, aka Christopher Priest, is writer.
He's like, I'm tired of it, man.
I know.
I am who I am.
Alan Kupperberg penciler, inkers Jim Fern and Art Nichols, colorist Bob Sharon, Rick Parker, and everyone's the same. Well, no, I think he kind of got let go from the book, so
yeah. Like I said, this is a hectic time.
Exactly. When Spider-Man prevented the Punisher from killing representatives of the various mobs that war in the city, the Wallcrawler found himself doused with knockout gas. As the hero recovers from the gas, members of the NYPD arrive on the roof. While on the street below, the Rose and his lieutenants are in a nearby alley trying to find a means to escape. In order to distract the police, the Rose calls in the Hobgoblin, who dive bombs the officers, allowing the Rose and his men to escape in their limo. Meanwhile, back on the roof, Spider-Man webs up the police officers and tries to make his escape down the side of the building. However, as he attempts this move, he is caught under the spotlight of a police helicopter. Spider-Man leaps to safety, and as he flees the scene, he realizes if he hadn't spotted the Punisher, the gang war would have been over. However, taking a rest in an alley, Spider-Man admits they couldn't have let the Punisher murder anyone, even criminals. The following morning, Lance Bannon is at a police precinct waiting for Sergeant Torque to come out so they can get to work together. While in Washington Square Park, Richard Fisk is reading the newspaper on a park bench after riding his bike. He is interrupted by a woman named Dinah who needs help fixing a flat tire on her bike. When she begins hitting on him, Richard eventually relents and agrees to go to coffee with the woman. There they get to talking about the ongoing gang war. Fisk tells Dinah that he believes that someone on the inside could take control of the city mobs and make a real difference. When Dinah asks what would stop that person from becoming a criminal themselves, Richard believes the strength of character will prevent that. Impressed with what Richard has said, Dinah asks him to take her home. Oh my! yeah, someone could take care of control of all these mobs. Oh, take me now. Oh, my. Meanwhile, Spider-Man wakes up in the alley he hunkered down in and realizes that he slept for 11 hours. Who's he, Lilith? Still too groggy for web slinging, the wall crawler is forced to take a city bus, much to his humiliation. When Spider-Man finally gets home, he discovers that Mary Jane is still there waiting for him.
Yikes.
When she, clingy.
I'd just go ahead and swing and flip right back out that window.
When she asks him where he had been all night, Mary yet, the hero explains the previous evening's incident. Although he saved lives, Peter feels bad about it since they are criminals. When Peter decides to take a shower, Mary Jane insists that he needs some cheering up and sneaks a peek of him as he is getting undressed, much to Peter's embarrassment. I was in a cold alley. Meanwhile, Sergeant Torque and Lance Bannon are meeting with a reformed criminal named Honest Vinny at a used car lot. Vinny needs to talk to Torque alone and takes him up downstairs. Oh boy. There, Vinny tells Torque that there's going to be a meeting that night in Jackson Heights. It was called together by the Rose, and the intent is to broker a treaty. When Torque leaves, Lance is upset that he has to cancel his evening plans in order to get this exclusive. While at his Greenwich Village loft, Richard Fisk thinks about what he can do to stop this gang war. That's when Dinah comes out of the shower and is amazed by how expensive this loft must be. Richard explains that his father is incredibly wealthy thanks to crime. He goes on to explain that he has been working on the inside to take down his father's empire. When Dinah asks if this makes Richard a criminal, Fisk explains that while he deals with criminals, he himself has never committed a crime. Well, foreshadowing.
You'd still get charged with racketeering. So...
I know. What do you call those? What do you call those shade of drapes? Foreshadowing. When she asks if he killed anyone before, he tells her that it wasn't anyone who didn't deserve it. So he's not even saying he didn't kill anybody. He's just like, yeah, no one deserves it.
Y'all had it come and say.
That's when he gets a call from Mr. Varley to inform him of the evening plans. Meanwhile, back at Peter's apartment, the weary hero has fallen asleep on the couch next to Mary Jane. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door, and Mary Jane answers it. It's Lance Bannon, seeking to pawn off his hot lead on Peter. While she is discussing things with Lance, the phone begins to ring, waking up Peter. It's Matt Murdock who asks Peter that they need to meet. Peter dismisses the call, and when he asks Mary Jane who's at the door, Mary Jane keeps the truth from him, shoving the details about the gangland meeting in her back pocket.
Uh-oh, Mary Jane, what are you doing? What are you up to?
I hope you don't grab it. Later that evening, Richard Fisk pays another visit to his mother. When he tells Vanessa about the woman he met, she is surprised to discover that his mother is lucid once more and remembers who he is. The doctor comes in just as she falls asleep again and tells Richard that she comes and goes. Shut up, Lil. When Richard leaves, the doctor scolds her and decides to increase her medication. Now that's
relatable.
I was gonna say.
Am I supposed to get my medicine soon?
Later in Forest Hills, Peter Parker has paid a visit to his Aunt May in order to get away from Mary Jane. And this is the woman he's gonna marry like in a few months. Okay. This also allows Peter to kill time while he waits to meet with Murdoch before the midnight meeting with the city's crime bosses. Meanwhile, Sergeant Torque is staking out the bowling alley where the mob bosses are expected to meet. Suddenly, the Hobgoblin and Jack-o'-lantern attack the bowling alley, who warn the leaders of the Blue Boys gang that they have come in advance as security, warning the rival gang that they will be killed at the first sign of treachery. Meanwhile, Spider-Man is awaiting atop the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, waiting for Daredevil. And again, bridges,
his favorite bridge.
Never good luck for him. He begins to worry about why Murdoch is running late. At that moment, Richard Fisk is running late for the meeting. When Dinah asks what's taking him so long, he tells her that he went to visit his mother and he isn't feeling in the mood to deal with this. When Richard asks if Dinah will be there when he gets back, she decides he might. Meanwhile, back in the bowling alley, Torque begins shouting at the guards around the bowling alley. When they open fire with a rocket launcher, oh man, they're really rubbing it in your face, this story. Torque orders his men to make their move. At that moment, Spider-Man calls his apartment and asks Mary Jane if Matt Murdock called. She tells him about the gang violence in Jackson Heights. She then admits to him that Lance Bannon came by with the tip and she hid it from Peter. And all people are dead. Good job. Hearing this, Spider-Man heads to Jackson Heights. However, there's nowhere he can web sling to get there. When he asks some police officers to give him a lift, at first they don't want anything to do with it until news of the gang violence reaches them as well, and they ask for the wall crawler's help. Human shield. Meanwhile, the Rose and his men are having to pulling out. They discover that it is a war zone. As Mr. Varley and Johnson provide cover fire, the Rose is still struck by some bullets. Merely winged, the Rose begins to panic and flees the scene, hating the idea of being treated like a common crook. That's when Spider-Man arrives on the scene, prompting the Hobgoblin to order Jack-O-Lantern to help him attack Spider-Man. However, Jack has no intentions of fighting the wall crawler and leaves. Wimp. Hobgoblin attacks the hero. Spider-Man fights off the Hobgoblin. This convinces him that the villain is not Flash Thompson and is through fighting with him. Knocking the villain away, the wall crawler tells him that he came to save lives, and if Hobgoblin wants to try and kill him now, would be his chance. Surprisingly, the Hobgoblin retreats instead. While Spider-Man is helping firefighters pull people out from nearby burning buildings, the Rose flees down an alley. The Rose runs into a rookie police officer who orders him to flee. Not wanting to be captured, the Rose fires his gun. Much later, an exhausted Peter Parker returns home to Mary Jane, who is proud of Peter for all the lives he saved that night. Peter's just glad that nobody died this evening while he was there. Unfortunately, this idea is crushed when a news report about the Rose killing a rookie police officer is reported on the news.
Oof! Add that to the floating heads of guilt.
As the report is being told, Richard Fisk returns home to find Dinah waiting for him. Still wounded, he tells Dinah to get him a doctor and rest on her side. However, the pair realize that because the Rose killed someone, this changes the whole situation. It's complicated.
No, you're a piece of poop.
I know. I mean, for her, it's complicated. So he will lure her in by talking about crime.
I mean, it's New York.
True. Yeah, that first
everybody back then, everybody wanted to be a mob wife. I don't know.
It was so weird, that initial conversation in the park. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, are they truly meeting for the first time, or are they just like play acting or something? I was like, I don't know.
It felt like a honeypot trap to me.
Yeah. I could see her being a cop or something.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
All right. From one meathead to another. Amazing Spider-Man 287 from April 1987, and there shall come a reckoning. Writer.
I mean, that's a lot of words for nothing happening.
Exactly. There shall come a reckoning sooner or later. Writer Jim Owsley, penciler Eric Larson.
Yep.
Future regular penciler on this title. Inker.
Gotta get your start somewhere.
Yeah. Inker Art Nichols, colorist Juliana Ferreter, Rick Parker, Jim Salicrup, Maddie Blostein. All right. Spider-Man is furious that Daredevil tricked him into staying away from a gang meeting, is now searching Hell's Kitchen to try to find the masked hero. He is furious that Daredevil also knows his secret identity. As he searches, he notices a bunch of kids hanging outside of an abandoned building and decides to check it out. Smashing through one of the boarded up windows, Spider-Man is shocked to discover these kids are selling crack and are armed to the teeth.
It's that time.
Yeah. Spider-Man webs up the drug dealers, and while he is busy, a teenage girl tries to take all the drugs. But Spider-Man stops her and tells her to get help. Spider-Man is disgusted by the sight and soon leaves when he hears police sirens. The next morning, what's Hell's Kitchen? What do you want?
Literally, man. Like, leave it to Daredevil, homie. You don't belong here.
Exactly. The next morning in a New York park, Richard Fisk and his new girlfriend meet up with Richard's longtime friend, Alfredo.
Oh, I never have a friend named Alfredo.
Leaving Dinah in the car, Richard and Alfredo go for a walk. It's on this walk that Alfredo hands Fisk a disc containing files he hacked from the police database. Richard is concerned about the cop that he killed the night before, as well as Hobgoblin's betrayal. He hopes that the masked villain doesn't blow his cover. He then gets a call on his cell phone from Dinah, who tells him that he is running late for a meeting that he has uptown. Before leaving, Richard tells Alfredo to pull all the trap and to meet him at his loft that evening. Later, Peter is visiting his Aunt May for lunch at her boarding house. He's glad to be among May and her tenants as it gives him a chance to relax. However, that relaxation is quickly disturbed by the arrival of Matt Murdock, who's come looking for Peter. Peter makes an excuse for an errand to run with Matt, and the pair leave in a cab. As they go, Peter warns Murdock against showing up at his aunt's house again. Peter is also angry at Matt for tricking him the night before. Murdock explains that Spider-Man's involvement in the gang war has only prolonged it. Murdock explains that there is much more at work than Peter realizes. By this point, Parker has heard enough and demands that the cab driver let him out, even though they are on the Grand Central Expressway. When the driver refuses, Peter kicks the passenger door off its hinges and pulls Matt out of the cab.
He's upset.
I know. The two start trading blows until the cab driver pulls them apart. He's like, "Oh, you're beating on a blind guy." After reaming Peter after hitting him,
a man with glasses. Yes, you wouldn't hit a blind guy. Yeah, I would.
After reaming Peter out for hitting him blind, you know how many wives and daughters this man's defiled? Let me go.
His hands are ready to eat for everyone, homie. Sorry to
Oh. After reaming Peter out for hitting a blind man, the driver helps Matt back into the cab and drives off, telling Peter that he will be billed for the broken door. That evening, Alfredo breaks into the information technology shaft of the Kingpin skyscraper and pulls all his data traps from the mainframe. As
climbing up the shaft, eh?
Relatable content. As he exits the sewers, Alfredo is snatched by the Hobgoblin, who demands to know what the Kingpin is returning to. I guess when Kingpin's returning to the city. When Alfredo refuses, the Hobgoblin drops him in the Hudson River, expecting him to drown. Well, got it. That
or
New
mutate.
I was gonna say that New York water. Gee. However, Alfredo manages to swim to the surface before he runs out of air. The next morning, Peter Parker is woken by a knock at his door. It's Ned Leeds, who tells Peter that the Kingpin is returning to the city that evening, and since he hasn't been convicted of a crime, the massive police escort is making sure he returns safely. Ned asks Peter to be his photographer on the scene as he can't reach Lance Bannon. Peter's uncomfortable since the last they talked, it wasn't on friendly terms. Ned explains that at the time he was under a lot of pressure and buries the hatchet. Later at Kingsley International, Mary Jane is outside as the Hobgoblin flies to the roof. She dismisses what she is seeing as a figment of her imagination. Or coke-induced, whatever. However, when the inside of the office of Roderick Kingsley, Roderick is reaming out Lance Bannon, telling him that he has gone too far. Bannon tells Kingsley that he will regret it. On his way out, he runs into Mary Jane, who asks what Bannon is doing at Kingsley International. Lance tells Mary Jane to forget that she saw him there. That evening in Hell's Kitchen, Matt Murdock meets with Karen Page, Melvin Potter, the Falcon, and Sergeant Francis Torque. Okay, this whole thing is... Torque seems to know who Matt is. I don't remember any cop ever known who Daredevil is. And two, not that I don't like the character, but what the hell was the Falcon doing here? I don't remember any team-ups between Falcon and Daredevil either.
Cash grab.
True. With the Falcon,
it's a gang war. Anybody can show up. Don't you know that?
I know, but it's like, then do something with the Falcon. It don't seem like he does much in this. They're preparing.
Maybe the editor cut down the Falcon.
Oh, maybe. They're preparing for the return of the Kingpin. Expecting Spider-Man to interfere, Matt Murdock prepares a gun, assuring the others that the wall crawler will not interfere with the Kingpin's return. Oh. Well, back at the Greenwich Village loft of Richard Fisk, Alfredo goes over his encounter with the Hobgoblin. Richard considers giving up on his plans, but Alfredo protests against it. When Fisk changes into the Rose, Dinah informs him that there is vital information about his mother that they pulled out of the Kingpin's computer records. Elsewhere,
boy, those Fisk boys are like a dog with a bone over that woman, ain't they?
Well, it's his mother. I mean,
mama's boy.
Exactly. Elsewhere, Torque and his allies are staking out the Kingpin's return to the city. As they expected, Spider-Man confronts the police motorcade and demands that the Kingpin come out and face him. As an NYPD sniper locks Spider-Man in his sights, the Kingpin pulls out a gun and tries to shoot the wall crawler. However, the hero's spider sense allows him to dodge the shot easily. Spider-Man then lashes into the Kingpin, quote-unquote, ripping off his mask, revealing him to be Daredevil in disguise in a fat suit.
I got him!
Daredevil doffs his disguise and reveals that they set up Spider-Man to prevent him from stopping the Kingpin from returning to the city.
Because only he can handle New York City.
Exactly.
He's got enough. He's the only man with enough titty to go all around.
Whoa! Daredevil
You're
tries
welcome, Russell.
Daredevil tries to explain that they can't operate outside of the law and find a peaceful resolution to the mob war. Oh, we can't operate outside the law, says the lawyer who moonlights as a mass vigilante.
Hypocrite!
I know. Spider-Man is fed up of being manipulated and attacks Daredevil. Although Spider-Man has superior strength and agility, Daredevil is able to get the better of Spider-Man thanks to his enhanced senses. Even with his eyes and one arm webbed up. I love when Peter webs him in the face and he's just like, what am I doing? He's blind. I'm thinking maybe if he got it over his mouth and nose,
Yeah.
passed out or something. Daredevil is able to hold his own against the web slinger. The sniper gets Spider-Man back in range. However, as he takes the shot, Daredevil leaps in the way and deflects the bullet with his billy club. Daredevil explains that there was an assassin that was attempting to eliminate the Kingpin and that they developed this ruse to throw him off and manipulated Spider-Man into helping them pull it off. This distraction allowed the Kingpin to slip into town unnoticed.
I wouldn't be messing around with Black Suit Spider-Man, though, for real. I would not be playing with his emotions like this.
I know. I mean, it's not the symbiote, but still.
I know. Either way.
I know. Outside a skyscraper, the Kingpin is greeted by the Arranger who welcomes him back. The reunion is interrupted by the arrival of the Hobgoblin. The Kingpin hands over an envelope containing information about Soviet spies that the Hobgoblin sought. Back in his office, the Kingpin tells the Arranger that he made the deal with the Hobgoblin to give him that information in exchange for the Rose's true identity. However, the Kingpin already knows who the Rose is and intends to use that knowledge to destroy him.
That's a bad family reunion.
Daddy's home. All right. Any thoughts?
I like this one. This ratcheted up the tension a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't really like them tricking Spider-Man, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and again, a lot of times you're just like, oh man, sometimes Spider-Man acts rashly, and no, I'm on his side this time. I'm like, man,
yeah,
Daredevil's being a dick. All right, want to get to the last one?
Of course. That was the penultimate. That's for Future Liv, so she can take a drink. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right, and we're gonna add another hero here, the Black Cat, who I'm assuming is just making that pose to distract the Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
Oh my. Titty on titty. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 288 from May 1987. Gang war rages on. Goes on and on and on.
Literally, because we just had another gang.
Exactly. Oh, again, that's every decade.
Yeah, two gang wars technically.
Every decade has its at least one gang war. Sometimes two. It's like it's only a few years from this and we get the Lobo Brothers war.
Oh God.
That's early 90s. I mean, it's like 3-4 years from now we get a Lobo Brothers war. The gang war has been raging through New York City. Has kept vigilantes like Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Daredevil busy against the likes of Hammerhead, the Rose, the Ranger, and the Blue Boys. This was all caused by the absence of the Kingpin in the city. However, now that the Lord of the criminal underworld is back and is taking accounts, from his office, the Kingpin gazes at a photo of his wife he keeps in a locket. He's
but a humble spice merchant with a soft spot.
Yeah, it's called the top of his head. He calls in Dr. Zakar, the physician who was hired to treat his wife, Vanessa. The Kingpin is upset that the man has been terrorizing Vanessa, who has the mind of a young girl. Unlike Lilith, who likes her dates to have the body of a young man. He is not impressed that Vanessa was given an increase in her medication after recognizing her son, Richard Fisk. Richard. When Zakar tries to offer excuses, the Kingpin won't hear any and uses the weapon in his cane to kill the doctor. Well, that American healthcare system is brutal.
It is. It is.
The Kingpin then calls in his next appointment. While in Chelsea, Mary Jane has come to Peter Parker's apartment. She wonders what is going on with Peter's life as he seems to be on the fence about quitting being Spider-Man. You knew it wasn't going to last. Using the spare key to get inside, Mary Jane is shocked to discover the Black Cat is in Peter's apartment.
Roll, Shaggy.
Before he can answer, the cat informs him that he has a phone call from his Aunt May. As Peter answers the phone, Mary Jane demands answers from the Black Cat. The cat explains that her apartment was blown up and that she has nowhere to stay. And issues a Spectacular Spider-Man. Well, the two women quibble with each other. Peter agrees to visit his aunt for lunch and heads out.
Like, I'll leave you two ladies to it. Have a good day.
She's like, there's a Molly Joe here. Meanwhile, the Kingpin is called in Jack-o'-lantern into his office to inform the costume mercenary that he's being fired.
You're fired.
Jack is furious, pointing out how he did a good job protecting the Arranger while the Kingpin was away. The Kingpin explains that Jack-o'-lantern served his purpose, but doesn't have what it takes to be his chief assassin. Jack-o'-lantern storms out of the Kingpin's office, vowing that the crime boss will regret this.
Now listen, I don't like Bullseye, but let's be real. Jack-o'-lantern's no Bullseye.
No. Although Kingpin doubts it. While at a Greenwich Village loft, Alfredo Morelli is still upset that the Hobgoblin attempted to kill him and wants to get revenge. Richard Fisk advises his friend against it. However, Alfredo won't listen and storms out, leaving Richard to wonder his next move as the Rose. It's noon on Canal Street when Sergeant Francis Torque meets up with Ben Urich, Matt Murdock, and Sam Wilson to discuss the recent return of the Kingpin. Their meeting is interrupted when a patron and the waitress pull guns and try to shoot them. While Wilson and Murdoch deal with the male shooter, Sergeant Torque gets the job on the waitress. With the danger over, they can all guess who hired these assassins to do in Matt Murdock. When news about this failure reaches the Kingpin,
you just want a tuna sandwich at a deli, and this is what happens.
Exactly. When news about this failure reaches the Kingpin, he orders the two assassins eliminated before they can talk. Kill the killers. Later that afternoon, Ned Leeds is finally able to find Lance Bannon at his home. Ned tells Lance that he's going on assignment to Europe and needs a photographer. It's then that he notices that Lance has a bunch of pictures of the Hobgoblin pinned to the wall.
Curious.
No, I just gratify myself to them. Huh. Lance nervously explains that he was sorting through morgue files on the Hobgoblin and quickly gets Ned to leave before he can ask more questions. Ned's like, oh, it was great to have a fan. Lance then discovers that
He's like, do you want me to autograph it? What'd you say? Nothing.
Lance then discovers that Ned left behind a notepad. He then recalls how Ned said he was going to his old apartment to pick up some notes and decides to meet him there. So the two men are headed for that old apartment. Well, back at the Kingpin's office, the crime lord gives the Arranger a list of individuals in his organization that need to be eliminated immediately. Meanwhile, at Betty Leeds' apartment, remember we haven't seen her since the first issue, Betty finally convinces Flash Thompson to let her go and get some groceries.
Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
Wow. I mean, well, they're hungry now. I mean, I think he's been holding her hostage for days.
Superior puss.
A little dehydrated there.
Exactly. Thompson has been hiding out at her place since being framed for being the Hobgoblin and was subsequently broken out of prison. As Betty leaves the apartment, Flash waves goodbye to her from the window. Yes, that's the way to stay hidden. Bye, Betty. Come back soon. I'll be ready in 15 minutes.
We just take this cold shower.
Oh my! Watching from across the street is Lance Bannon, who considers this a stroke of luck.
A stroke, you say?
An hour later, Betty returns to find the Hobgoblin inside her apartment attacking Flash. He has decided to reveal his true identity to Thompson so he can know who destroyed him. When he hears Betty, the unmasked Hobgoblin turns to see who it is. Betty instantly recognizes who the Hobgoblin is and begins to scream. Fearing the authorities might be called, the Hobgoblin flees the scene before he can finish his job. Flash is like, you interrupted my job too.
That turtle's back in his shell now, I'll tell you what.
I was knocked unconscious. While at the Kingpin skyscraper, the ruthless criminal visits with his wife and tenderly tells her that soon it will all be over and she will be free. While in Forest Hills, Peter is being trounced in a game of chess with Aunt May's tenant, Arthur Chekhov. Peter can't keep his mind on the game because he can't stop thinking about how the Black Cat invited herself back into his life after her apartment was recently firebombed. This puts him at odds because despite the fact that he and Mary Jane don't have a formal relationship, but meanwhile we're going to get married in like 3 months here, he still feels like a creep. Suddenly, his outing is interrupted by a phone call from Matt Murdock. Peter tells Murdoch not to call his Aunt May's house again and slams down the phone. While at Jack-o'-lantern's hideout, the villain is fuming over being fired by the Kingpin. Suddenly, the Hobgoblin comes crashing in and attacks him for deserting him in battle. Things get hairier when Alfredo, who followed the Hobgoblin, tries to shoot the villain from behind. When the Hobgoblin tries to fight back, Alfredo uses a device that jams all of the Hobgoblin's equipment, rendering him helpless. But before Alfredo can eliminate the Hobgoblin, he is attacked from behind by Jack-o'-lantern, who wants the Hobgoblin for himself. So donkey punches all around, kid.
Oh yeah.
Donkey punch now, bitch.
Double cross, crisscross, crisscross.
Alfredo drops the jamming device, giving the Hobgoblin enough time to recover and flee as he finds the protracted battle will hinder his plans to take over the underworld for himself. While back at Richard Fisk's loft, Dinah takes a call from Alfredo and informs Richard about his failed attempt on the Hobgoblin's life. Richard is upset by this because he figures that the Hobgoblin will think that the Rose has betrayed him. Suddenly, his private line rings and Richard answers it. Instead of Mr. Varley as expected, Richard is shocked to hear the voice of his father. The Kingpin tells Richard that
you're grounded.
That they need to talk and he should come to his office immediately. No allowance for you this week, young man.
Go live in the alley. I'm taking that apartment back.
Oh, wow. And your woman. While in Hell's Kitchen, Sergeant Torque, Daredevil, and the Falcon are planning the next phase of their plan. Falcon is upset that Matt pushed Spider-Man to the point where he won't be any help. However, they are soon interrupted by Spider-Man and the Black Cat. The wall crawler is still furious that Murdoch called him at his Aunt May's home. However, before he can fully vent his anger, he is told that the Kingpin is plotting to kill all his lieutenants, and this is Spider-Man's chance to nail the Kingpin once and for all. Meanwhile, Hammerhead is tipped off about the Kingpin's meeting. Figuring something big is up, Hammerhead decides to lay low and bid his time before making his next move. While in an alleyway not far from the Kingpin's headquarters, the Punisher is also prepping for his next move. Having heard that the police have been instructed to stay away from the Kingpin's office tower, a deal cut for the Kingpin's return. The Punisher continues his watch, intending to deal with the problem himself. At 1:45 the Kingpin is spending more time with his comatose wife. He's joined by the Rose, who asked the Kingpin how he discovered that the Rose was really his son, Richard Fisk. The Kingpin says it doesn't matter, that he called his son to say goodbye to his mother, as this will be the last time he sees her. The Rose pulls a gun, angry that his father has been keeping his mother in a comatose state. The Kingpin responds back by informing his son that he is aware of the rookie police officer he killed the night before. He then tells his son that he plans on doing something good for this city and his wife. He explains to Richard how Vanessa had left him recently and fled to Europe. The Kingpin monitored her and learned of a plot against her life. He then brought his wife back to the United States and kept her sedated to save her from the shock of learning she had been pulled back into her husband's life. Sure, Jan. He explains that he has dealt with the price on Vanessa's head and she will soon be taken back to Europe. Then, as a token gesture to the local authorities, the Kingpin plans to end the mob war at midnight. As the Kingpin calls...
Not 11:52? Scroll over to
Unlimited
Six Sidekicks for that reference.
Unlimited Justice episode 68. As the Kingpin calls his lieutenants to his office later that evening, Spider-Man and the other heroes make their way there. The Kingpin announces to his minions that they have all been fired and orders them killed. You're fired.
I'm done with you. You're fired.
As the Kingpin and the Rose leave to oversee Vanessa's transport to the airport, the heroes come crashing in. Spider-Man, Daredevil, the Falcon, and the Black Cat round up the guns to prevent them from assassinating the Kingpin's failed minions. As the battle rages, Sergeant Torque reports that Vanessa Fisk's ambulance has just cleared the area and sends in his officers to start making arrests. Spider-Man suddenly realized that this was all a setup, as the assassins' guns are filled with blanks. Fed up with being manipulated by the Kingpin, Spider-Man leaves the battle to face the fat man alone in his office. The Kingpin gloats over his manipulation over the wall crawler, explaining that he had years of experience manipulating do-gooders like Spider-Man to suit his own means. He also reminds Spider-Man that he is the unbeatable foe, as killing the Kingpin will only keep the gang war going. That's when Daredevil and the others come into the room, warning Spider-Man to stop. Daredevil finally gets through to Spider-Man, but he doesn't like it. In a fit of rage, Spider-Man smashes the Kingpin's desk with his fists and warns Fisk that one day the Kingpin will push him too far.
I want that story.
I know. Well, we kind of sort of got a version of that at the end of Back in Black, right before, the whole...
I want to see,
before the Mephisto...
Brink of Death type.
I know. Although I think they did do a what-if issue on that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that one day. Let's do just a whole month of Kingpin gets his.
Kingpin's Twitty Sister
Oh!
Twister Tuesdays.
Nice. In the aftermath of Spider-Man's outburst, the Kingpin pulls the photo of his wife that was on the desk when Spider-Man smashed it. The crystal glass has been shattered. The symbolism of the situation is not lost on the Kingpin. He and Daredevil have parting words, both agreeing that they lost something important that day for the greater good. Daredevil, his morals for making a deal with the Kingpin, while the Kingpin lost his wife. As he leaves, Daredevil tells the Kingpin to take a good look at the shattered crystal of the photo to see if he can find his reflection so he can truly know what he has lost. With Daredevil gone, the Kingpin reflects on his parting words for a moment before putting the photo of his wife into a drawer, which doesn't come back out until Fall of the Kingpin by D.G. Chichester.
Nice.
All right. Thoughts?
So good. I mean, it's a lot of
5 issues.
Yeah.
5 issues. Modern Comics, this would have been 12.
Yeah. Maybe even 18, to be honest, if it was Zeb Wells.
Oh yeah, 2-year gang war. Oh my. Although we should make more fun of Zeb Wells anymore. He's gone, Lilith, because this is
Yes,
episode.
no, I can still make fun if I want.
That's true. We still give Ben this crap.
He's left a lasting impression, and that impression's a skid mark. So.
Oh.
A small one, but still, it's there.
I know.
Might need some Chipotle.
Eat some bad McDonald's. All right.
Oh, did you get your free Trump McDonald's? He was in Pennsylvania handing out free.
No. He wasn't even making food for customer. I heard that was all. They closed that restaurant.
Of course it was. It was closed. It was all a photo op. I don't even think he actually really paid for the food either, honestly.
Probably not. Oh, please. When's he
said it's all on the Trump campaign.
When's he ever paid for anything?
Definitely not his taxes.
Oh,
proven fact.
I know. How is he running again? He didn't turn over his taxes the first time, did he?
Eventually he did, I guess.
Oh, did he? Oh, I thought he never did. Okay.
Yeah, because we found out that he was basically not paying anything. That's why I didn't want to turn it in.
Exactly.
But that's billionaires for you. They're useless. Eat the rich.
Again, you're
gonna give it back. Eat the rich.
Gonna summon old Tate. All right, I know we're running long, but do you want to cover some Spider-Man?
Yeah, wherever you want to go, Captain.
Do you want to? Well, oh God, you get Spider-Boy.
No, I told you I drew the line last.
Well, again, speaking of Daredevil, he does make an appearance.
Yeah.
And again, now they're going into this, history of, Daredevil trained Spider-Boy and stuff, and it's just, oh God.
Like they went and drug poor Matt into this. I just.
And now Bullseye has like a kid assistant who I guess turns out to be whoever Spider.
What? Like, okay, they're going the opposite way of DC at this point. It's like.
I know Dan Slott's literally rewriting history and just like, no, Spider-Man.
Like, Dave, you're not Chris Claremont. You can't do this.
I know. At least give 5 seconds thought to what you're doing.
Spider-Boy, I don't know.
And now we're introducing a
everybody
girl.
Gives Miles Morales crap, but people are still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Some of the stories are cute, like I said, but this whole just force. He's the Superboy of the Marvel universe. They're trying to make him fit in there. It's just not gonna work. It's gonna rip the universe apart, Philip.
I know. I mean, at least Miles Morales. I mean, even though he's a Bendis creation, I mean, they gave
it's the best thing Bendis has ever done. Look.
Yeah, they laid back.
Without question.
They let people fall in love with Miles. Spider-Boy Slott's just
we rammed him down our throat, bro. Literally.
You will love this character. I don't care.
That's just not how the internet works. That's just not how fandom works.
No, I don't know why. Again, he must have blackmail on all them editors because I don't know why he gets away with it.
No, they really were trying. I think this is once Spider-Boy is gone, they realize we're not gonna get the young people like that age bracket that Bailey was, right? We're not gonna get them. It's just not gonna happen. So we just have to they signed a contract for how many other issues across how many other
but I thought
books or whatever.
I thought it was supposed to be done by 10 or something. I mean, we've gone past that.
Or maybe it's doing numbers. I didn't think it was, but
I don't think so
also
either.
blackmail exists, and in the
Well-
entertainment industry, there's plenty of blackmail. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, plus, like we've also said, again, since Miles is kind of tied up with Sony, or they wanted a free and
They
clear.
definitely felt like the reaction to that.
And again,
Even though also Toby too. So it's like,
and they've kind of aged up Miles a little bit. I mean,
unfortunately,
yeah. So now they got a young Spider-Boy again.
But man, they can't deny that money from them Spider-Man games. They can't deny that.
No,
they can't mess up Miles too bad.
Across the Spider-Verse and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they still get money off it, just not the whole thing like they wish. They're kicking themselves, bro. They had a chance to have Miles in the MCU, and they turned it down.
I know. All right. Did you read either Venom War Carnage or Venom War Lethal Protectors?
Lethal Protectors, not Carnage.
Oh, okay. There wasn't much in Venom War Carnage, it seems.
Yeah, we're winding down.
Well, him and Meridius fought, and then kind of Cletus and the symbiote kind of had a fight and broke up. Literally.
Yeah, leaving room for Eddie to become the new Carnage. Spoilers,
kids.
guys.
Spoilers if you haven't heard. Yes, after Venom War, yes, Eddie is getting the Carnage symbiote for some reason.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Because there's going to be someone new in the Venom suit, which they haven't said who yet.
It's like, babes, we just got Eddie back definitively. What are we doing? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, they're really messing with the Venom formula kind of hard, and I think that's going to bite them in the butt.
Yeah.
But maybe they want numbers up on Carnage for something. I don't know.
Again, it's like, again, how about going back to basics?
The Spider-Verse is in shambles.
Let's give another person the the suit. Oh, you know who they? How about we kill two birds with one stone? How about we Ben Reilly, we cure him of being Chasm and give him the symbiote?
Hello, thank you. Like what? Like
once again, with a lot of scenarios, kids, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have normal Spider-Man Peter Parker over here. You can have the darker version over here with the symbiote.
I don't know why they keep missing the mark on this with Ben Reilly.
Right.
It's like they don't want to remind people that he's actually technically the real Spider-Man. They were too chicken to actually go through with it.
Well, I just don't think they thought it out enough. They were just like, oh yeah, he's going to be the real Peter Parker, but how does he take his name when other Peter's married and having a baby on the way?
Exactly.
I mean, they could do it now. He's not married.
A subtle switch.
Exactly. He squeezes right in, and no one knows the difference because you don't have a wife.
3 years from now, they're like, you've been acting different ever since da 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 da.
Exactly. Because back in the day, it's like, oh well, if he would have switched places with Peter, they would have been like, well, where's your wife? What?
I left her ass. You
I'm
see my hot new babe right here?
I'm the real Peter. Give me that woman. Give me that redhead.
Yeah, hopefully eventually they're gonna fix Ben and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Kane if you want to. Like Kane could be Chasm. I don't know why they didn't make Kane Chasm. Why did they make Ben Reilly Chasm?
Do the switch. Do the switch. Kane is Scarlet Spider right now. Just do the switch.
I'd love to see that. Like they just subtly switch and then they like make a whole mystery about it like a couple of years later. Like, wait, what do you mean? They're like Clone Wars 2. Suck it, suckers.
How about our new Sorcerer Supreme? Just switch them. He's a petty college dropout.
True. You know what? I want to see that. Or at least just a what if Ben goes to freaking.
Yes.
He's like, make everybody think I'm Peter Parker.
I can't give you all your memories back, but I can put you in Kane's body. Okay, do it.
Ooh.
Can you imagine how pissed Kane would be then?
Well, he's a crybaby, so.
Well, it's like he's such a wussy.
He is.
And I cleaned that up for the show, kids.
I did like Spider Society number 3 though.
Oh, I didn't read it. All right, good.
Oh yeah, Sinister Squadron. So
Okay.
And they love having like tons of like really bloody fights and stuff in this one.
Mm.
I think you'll like it. I think you might want to give it a try.
I might, yeah. I might even go to the store, see if we can find all the previous issues and catch up.
It's a lot of fun. It's like all the fun of like all the gang wars and like Sinister Six team ups and stuff like that without the hassle of having to worry about like continuity and if it makes sense. It's just fun.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just dumb fun with the villains.
Definitely gotta check that out then.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I have another show to do.
I know. Okay, we can wrap it up.
All right. So, all right,
But
kids.
no, I just want to shout out Dazzler #2 and leave it alone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I bought it. I haven't read it yet, but yeah. That's like next thing on my list is read that Dazzler issue.
Oh yeah, Domino's in it. So
I like
it's
the first
really
one. Yeah, the first
Yeah.
one was good. Yeah.
I think that it was late, but I mean, I just read so many books in a month now too. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard. It's weird. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it
It's
up.
literally on
Thank you,
top of
Joe.
the pile. It's the next thing to read. All right. So, yes, kids, like I said, well, send us your thoughts on this gang war. Again, did you like our Zeb Wells going away party? The other episode for Gobble Gobble month this year will be thank you to a Lilith Hellfire suggestion, Cult of Carnage Misery 1 through 5.
Nice.
So we'll see the other female mastermind in the Marvel Universe, Liz Allen.
Yeah, get some clams and yams in here, you know?
Oh my, yes, exactly. Again, well, get some different symbiotes in here. And she has ties to goblins, so
Don't we all?
oh yeah, everyone does. All right, kids. So yes, so send us your thoughts. Email us. CapesandLunatics. And again, once you start reading 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, send us your thoughts on those because we'll definitely cover it. So send us your thoughts. Email us CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And remember, you can find all things Capes Lunatics episodes, social media, merchandise. Get your brand new Capes Lunatics merch, the classic Capes Lunatics merch. And again, goblins, kingpins, you need fear none of them except Lilith Hellfire if you do not rain random money on us through the Cash App link.
Make it rain.
Yeah, we don't need to don't make us dance on that pole because I ain't worried about the villains of the Marvel Universe, but that excitable Matt Murdock, that's another story.
She looks like she was just working a
Gonna give you that Billy Club whether you want it or not.
I heard he's with a porn star once.
An adult film star, Philip.
Yeah.
Let's not be reductive.
Okay. All right. And of course, the Patreon where Lilith and I give you exclusive, uncensored content every month.
Hope you like the Halloween episode. Don't know what we're doing for November just yet, or do we?
No, I don't think we came up with anything yet.
So it'll be a surprise for us and you.
We'll put something in the oven and cook it up for you. So, but yes, and if you are a patron, you can suggest topics for us to discuss. So please subscribe and tell us what to do. So. You subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/CapesandLunatics, and you can find everything all in one place. That's tubespace.ao/CapesandLunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.ao/CapesandLunatics Podcast Network.
More vicious and brutal than ever.
And you can't find Lilith anywhere, but I just want to play some of her drops.
The whole family can suck it.
Yes, this holiday, please feel free to take a social media break.
Oh my!
For your mental health.
When you're sitting around with the family, start the conversation with this.
The whole family can suck it.
No, ask your family who they think would win in a fight between Superman and Hulk, and watch chaos ensue.
And you know what the best stuffing is, right?
Nothing will ever be as good as Mephisto's mushroom.
Cookie with Lilith. Cookie with Lilith and Justin.
Audible edibles.
All right, kids. Thank you for joining us. Come back again next time for Cult of Carnage Misery. Get to Liz Allen and her symbiote. Some offshoots of some goblins. Some off to the side goblin. But until then, swing on back.
But good. Off to the side goblin is pretty cool.